Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live. We love doing these LinkedIn Lives with Gina London, of course. Gina, how are you?
I am good, Sam. I'm really happy to be here. And we were discussing this topic. I was thinking about this seems so easy, and yet it isn't. So I'm really glad that we're diving into this one. It seems like it's just a basic, obvious, you put in your time off request, and yet so many of us have hangups about it. So how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's something that I suppose people might have a lot of fear around asking for time off, but I think this is a good time to discuss this topic because you have Easter coming up, you have the summer holidays coming up.
Fun just started today, as a matter of fact.
Right. Okay. So, really important topic. So, tell us, where do we start? Okay. So, let's say, okay, the husband has said, I think it'd be nice to go here. Where do you start?
I think the first thing we need to start with, actually, before we even think about when we're going or who's asking us, if it's a partner or a friend or what have you, is how do we think about our own selves in the workplace? So, mindset is always important when we talk about communications because, as I always say, the first person that we talk to in the morning and the last person we talk to at night is not our significant other if we have the one, even if we have one, it's ourselves.
Hmm.
So the first thing is, and there's two ends of the spectrum and everything in between, but the one is the I can never leave, nothing gets done without me, I'm indispensable. And the other end of that is I'm not worthy, I shouldn't take any time off. If I do, I'll be replaced. And so we've got the I mean everything and I mean nothing parts of our brain. And those even could be one person depending on the time of the day or the year or what's going on in your life. And so I think right away I want everyone to remind themselves that resting,
Mm.
taking time off, refueling, spending time with family or getting away from family, whatever, your reset button needs to be pressed. And so that first thing is to reset how you talk about this notion of taking time off. Do you consider yourself indispensable? Or are you so worried about who might come in and fill in for you in a better way than you might be doing that you're paralyzed? So let's take that middle road or that logical road of we deserve time off. It's important for us to take time off. That's one.
Mm. Yeah, and actually, I was at a retreat recently, and that was spoken about. How important it is to take that time out, and even taking the time out at the retreat was fantastic. And actually, I must mention the other retreat that's happening at the end of this. But you know, do I think some people, might think, oh gosh, I'm on a roll now. I'm busy. It's great, and I don't really need a break. But yeah, it is important.
Well, the research is very clear. And this is where we move into the mindset piece for ourselves as to what we would say to a supervisor if we're in a role that we have a supervisor. If you're the boss or the owner or a founder, it's also important for you to be able to tell your teams that you're going to, and you need to trust your team, obviously, but you need to have a team support mechanism in a way that you can also role model the behavior. So let's take a look at the idea of how important is it and why is it important? Well, I first of all, it's important that you acknowledge that you need it, and then let's explain why. Well, because it's important to be able to, as a leader, demonstrate that you're able to unplug and that you trust your team. That's building autonomy. That's helping them make their own choices. That's the multiplier approach of leadership as opposed to everyone's diminished and I'm that person that's the glue.
Mhm.
So watching your team carry on while you're not around and make choices and you're empowering them to be the ones that make those choices while you're gone is a fantastic part of leadership, and it adds to more productivity because it adds to them being developed and feel more worthy to make those decisions and be more trusted. So there's a lot of research around why it's important for the leader to role model it. And by the way, that means unless you have made it very clear, you shouldn't be texting to your team from the beach. If there's not an emergency, you don't need those daily check-ins, and you're mixed signaling if you do send those daily check-ins to, do they have the freedom then to actually disconnect with confidence? And so think about your culture of, does your organization actually enable, empower, and encourage you to take time off? Can you, so now as the employee or as the team member, that's something to consider. Because if you, the reality of situations, of course, is always where I try to come from, not the theoretical about, well, it should be in this happy la la land that you can disconnect with confidence. But if you tell me, well, I know I can't, then let's bolt in some rationale about what we do in that scenario. And in that scenario, you say, I'm planning on taking early in Q1. You're talking about what you're going to do for the end of Q1 or Q2. You're typically not asking or declaring or taking time off on the Monday and you're telling your supervisor or your other team members on the Friday. Like, let's first of all tell yourself that you're able to do this, but then make it wise for yourself, no matter what your culture is, that you're asking or taking the time off in enough space, enough runway. Not that they have you covered, that you have yourself covered. And there's a distinction there. So what is your workload? Who's going to handle the clients while you're gone? If you say to Sam, who's your boss, I'd like to take off in 3 weeks for 5 days, and you don't say, and Julie's going to be filling in for me. I've got it covered with these 3 people on my team. Those clients I will notify, and they'll be covered. I've got this project wrapped up. I'm handing it over to Sally, and Sally is expecting the handover. Or all of those things you should have in your pocket before you write or you go into your supervisor's office to ask or take that time off. So have your backup plan, have your projects discussed. Don't just ask for the time off and then get caught flat-footed when a manager who is going to be also looking for the full picture of the business says to you, oh, well, what about Project X? Oh, I forgot about Project X. Let me go figure that out. No, that's where you're diminishing your worthy or your standing or your career path progression, possibly, just in what may happen as an ask for some time off. So plan in advance. First of all, know you're worthy. Plan in advance. Make sure you're covered. Your projects are figured out. And then when you go to ask, if it's in writing or if it's in person, make the ask with confidence. Oh, I know it's a busy time, or oh, I'm really sorry. No. I'm looking to block, or I'm take. You don't have to declare it. That might be a little bit too much in the face. But that's different than coming in from a standpoint of real uncertainty, which is also part of practicing your executive presence. Even if you're not a top executive, that's learning to take more control of the you that you present whenever you're in a situation where you might be thinking it's a difficult conversation. And if you do think that, then that is when you take the responsibility to practice out loud, to frame it positively, to have I'd like to take these 3 days off. And Sam has already been chatted with, or I'm ready to chat with Sam about filling in, and I know she would. You don't want to put the cart before the horse, because if you've already cleared it all with Sam and you haven't cleared it with your supervisor, that might make that supervisor frustrated. But be prepared for how you're going to handle the "am I covered" question.
Okay, so cover is important. But it's like me with clients, I would say, look, I am off next week, but I have stuff scheduled, and this is scheduled to go out. So at least they know there's stuff still going on. So it's kind of the same thing. You're just giving them a heads up. And what do you think about, well, I'm contactable by WhatsApp?
Right. Well, this is the one size shoe does not fit all type of mantra. So in a best case scenario, you're putting on your out of office on your email, or you're letting your clients know if there is something that you need me for urgently, I'm available by WhatsApp. That's up to you. I would encourage you to probably mark that. I'm going to be checking my WhatsApp between 4 and 6 every afternoon, or from 12 until 2 every afternoon, but you're not saying I'm available all the time. Also on your out of office, make it short, make it declarative. I'm taking time off. Sam is my fill-in. Here's her number. If it's urgent, number one, go to Sam. If it's not, if it's extra urgent, go to me know that I'm checking between 2 and 3. Because the more that you can manage their expectations, the more that you can manage what you potentially could receive. If you can, turn off Slack. Don't check your email. If there's that one emergency that's going to go through, maybe you have it filtered through one of your colleagues before it even goes to you. It depends on where you are and what kind of work that you have, of course. If you're a sole provider like I am, sometimes I'm the only person that can answer that question. But a lot of times, my assistant can handle the question, or my sales team can handle the question. But you want to be able to feel that the research is interesting too. If you answer an email or you go back onto Slack and it took you about 10 seconds to even look at that, it takes, according to the research, about 40 minutes for you to decompress from whatever that stress or that back end work feeling is. And that's serious when you think about that.
And you've got your family members watching you do that too.
Yeah, the role modeling around it. I mean, can you truly focus on the kids playing on the mountainside or at the granny's house? Or are you half in the office, even though you're physically fully in somewhere else? And that's not good for your business because it's sending mixed messages, but it certainly isn't good for your family life or your own self-care and your own mental health. That's why we take holidays. That's why we guard our time off, because we need that time off to recharge, to be more productive going forward. And that's one of the things that's important to frame with your bosses too. You know, I really look forward to coming back after I've been gone because I know how I can hit the ground running. Now, you might not feel that a whole lot, but there's ways to frame that in a way that they feel confident that you're so enthusiastic about the way you're going to feel when you come back, but not if you never really left at all.
Really good. Yeah, really good. So so do you make an appointment and then ask for the time off, or do you do email, or what way? It depends on the organization.
Again, it depends. It's cultural specific. Some organizations require you to put things in writing, and so you're going to put something in writing. That said, if you have to put something in writing to an HR partner, but you have a direct report who is right across the hall from you or that you're talking to regularly, I would encourage you, for the professional relationship, don't just go and jump over your supervisor to make the formal request with HR. Go to, back to the point about you've got things covered and you want to build that relationship. So go to that supervisor first. In person is always the best. If we think about relationship building and how this whole world of hybrid has put it on its head, that doesn't mean that the norms still aren't the best. So in the sense that in person with somebody face to face is always preferable to virtual. Virtual in person, as in virtual with camera on, is better than virtual with camera off. Why do we have to say these things, people? It's so obvious. But yet you'll find some organizations, oh, we don't put our cameras on anymore. What? What?
Wow.
So go to them in person if you can. Have your plan and your backup in your days and be doing it in plenty of weeks in advance. If you can't do it in person, make that 5-minute, 10-minute call that's outside of your weekly check-in, because what you don't want to do is make it an, oh, by the way. I think that feels a little messy and could feel also a little rushed for you and for the supervisor.
Mm.
And it's not going to come as clear and as confidently and calmly as it should. Because again, it shouldn't be a, oh, I'm just trying to sneak this in.
Yeah.
You should be able to effortlessly, at least appear to be effortlessly when talking about it, when you're talking about it. So go ahead and say, I'd like to make a 5-minute discussion with you or a 10-minute appointment with you to talk about upcoming holidays for the third quarter. But don't do that middle third quarter. You should know if you've got a wedding. You should know if you've got a holiday coming up with family, because most of us are planning these things. If something comes up unexpectedly, something comes up unexpectedly.
Mm.
But most times in a work environment, it's implied, if not imperative, that you give a certain number of weeks in advance. And again, if you're thinking about your career path progression and your reputation within the organization, you don't want to be seen as that person who's asking last minute, because it makes you look unorganized. It certainly makes you not sound executive. They can't envision you getting into positions of management and leadership and more responsibility if you can't take responsibility for something as obvious as asking for your own time off. And it could be that you knew about it for a long time, but you've been justifying and resisting why you don't have to have that conversation yet, because you don't have a great relationship with the boss. You feel like you can't leave. You feel like you're going to put people in the lurch. The culture isn't that anybody takes holidays. Those are all things to consider. And yet, being loyal to yourself and being able to refuel yourself should be part of your top priority self-care go-to checklists.
And can I ask, I don't know if you know this actually from the HR person's perspective, is the earlier the better good for them? The earlier they know, I'm assuming that the earlier they know.
Of course it is. Well, think about it from, okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know some particular HR handbook law on this, but think about it from a coverage standpoint. If there is a sales team, for example, or I don't know, a research team, pick your sector. If that particular region or that particular client base or that particular product or service that's being done by that group, if there are 5 people in that group and all 5 put in to have the same week off, something probably has to give. So if you're thinking about 3 months in advance or 6 months in advance about where you're going to be the week of July 2nd, you probably have a more guaranteed opportunity to lock that in than the person that thought about the week of July 2nd on June 30th.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we got to work in reality, folk. Do you work for a big company yourself? Do you work in a really large multi with a lot of layers of bureaucracy and organization? I mean, these are the types of ranges of employees that are out there. Are you a waitress in a restaurant and there's only 3 of you that are covering the floor? Well, then all 3 of you can't take off on the same day. Or they got to have, HR has to have enough of a backup or people on call where they can fill you in. But of course, your HR professional is trying to move the pieces on the deck as best as they can to make sure that the company is covered, whatever company it is.
And it's funny, I've actually worked with clients and they were in big organizations, and I noticed it was a very, very busy time. This has happened twice. It was a very, very busy time, and they went off on holidays. And I was like, how can they go off on holidays when it's so busy?
Well, but first of all, the reason they can is because big companies, again, the company should not live or die because you're gone for 4 days.
Yeah.
This gets back to that fallacy of I'm indispensable. And so when you have a company that starts to make you feel that you're indefensible or indispensable rather, then unfortunately you might find that you've gone 2 years and never taken a day off. That's not good for the company, and that certainly isn't good for you or your family or your friends. So stop asking like you're confessing to a crime. Oh, I just know it's a bad time. It's always going to be a bad time to somebody's perspective. When you guilt as the lead, then that invites negotiation and it invites pushback, doesn't it? But when you lead with confidence, it signals competence. I've got this covered. I'll be taking a couple of days off on here and here, and here's my coverage plan.
So the important piece really is the coverage plan, because then they can't really, it's like you've kind of covered all the bases then, really, haven't you?
Well, that's the thing. You're presenting the like in anything. Present the plan, not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't go, oh, I know it's a busy time, or I know as soon as you do all of that, then that's what the person's focusing on. If it's your other teammates, or if it's your boss or supervisor or manager or whatever you call them. But if you say, I'm looking forward to I'm booking in these 3 days coming up in 2 months to take this time off. The client deliverables will be submitted before I leave. If anything urgent arises, here's my availability time. And so when you start to remove as much uncertainty as there is, then you also remove the resistance, not just for them, but for you too. So it's important to plan your plan for yourself first. And I think we talk about this a lot, getting out of your head and getting out on the paper is the best way to start to make things concrete and not abstract and too much emotion. Oh, I can't do this, or what about this, or what about this? Well, you're just worrying and making all these scenarios in your head. Okay, what if they ask this? So then I'm going to write down this, and now this is my plan. Is it real that I need to take this 5 days off in June, and here it is February? Yes, it is. Okay, so I need to make a plan for how I'm going to ask for this and get the plan in order. But that preparation piece is really important, and certainly flagging it earlier in the time frame is better if you can.
Brilliant. This is really good advice.
Right.
I think for you, I know there's a retreat coming up that you're involved in.
Yes.
Talk about that.
From March 9th through March 11th, maybe the 12th too. Now I have to remember when the end time is, but certainly starting on March 9th, I am going to be joining a number of other female executive leaders, some from big companies, some founders from their own companies. So senior execs, senior founders and entrepreneurs in the Algarve in Portugal. This is part of Kella, the networking for senior leader organization, women organization that I'm a co-founder of. And it's our first retreat. We just launched the whole Kella leadership program networking association in January 2025. So now here coming up next month, we have 5 days together where we're going to be recharging. It's not just we're going to be doing yoga and we're just going to be laying on a beach, but there is going to be some of that. So it's a recharge. There'll be some workshops. I'm going to be leading one in particular around presenting with executive presence while you're telling your core story. So we've got some core story creation and delivery around that, but it's also not just fully a work retreat either. So there'll be lovely cacao ceremony, there'll be yoga, there'll be some other adventures, and there will be, most importantly, I hope, this kind of real sharing, this kind of real experiential vulnerability. And, oh, did you go through this? I went through this. We're all going to hopefully be committed into not making things in theory, but making things in practice and reality so that we can learn and help each other. That's the Kella retreat.
That sounds great. And it's an
I
opportunity.
think there's still a couple of spots too. So any female exec leader listening, please do yourself a favor and go to kellaleadership.com and take a look at, I don't know what's happened in the last couple of days in terms of uptake, but I think we do have 1 or 2 spots still left. So March 9th, it kicks off. KellaLeadership.com.
I was tempted. I was looking at it myself. But 5 days, it's just, it was a little bit too long, but this is important though. Again, when was the last time I took 5 days off? I have no idea. So, again,
and when is the last time you took even 4 days off? I think it's actually 4 from, if we count coming in and departure, I think it's 4 full days of program. But when you think about it, when's the last time you took 4 days just for you?
There you go. I mean, I did one recently, one day, you stayed overnight, and I felt so good after it. I just felt like I'd given myself something nice.
Yeah. Well,
there was one thing I didn't like that I wasn't really interested in doing, so I went for a massage.
Great.
You don't have to participate in everything either, I'm sure.
Not at all. That's the thing about these types of retreats, is it certainly isn't mandatory. You come together and even if you're just convening for a meal with some interesting people. I was going to say like-minded, but I think it's actually more interesting when there's extra diversity. So not just like-minded, but people committed to other people. That's the like-minded part. People committed to sharing their true selves is another component. And then, gosh, their experiences and their successes can be quite wide-ranging, but the value of just a conversation where you often, when you're in the workplace, I know like you and I haven't talked in a couple of weeks, not because we don't think super highly of each other, but our heads are down and we're busy. So even the investment in just a conversation time can be well worth it.
And it just, you can't beat it, that like, I know this is about how to ask for time off, but I think even, when you see other people coming back from their holiday and they're refreshed, and, I just think it's so important just to, and I've started doing that, and I have booked something for May. I'll tell you about it later, but definitely it's something I haven't done, and it's 10 days, and I have not switched off ever for 10 days, ever. So it'll be interesting. But, I do notice the older I get, and this is, I want to share this because one of my friends, my social media friends, passed away recently. And, and then also another friend of mine got diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's like, life is too short, folks. We can work, but at the end of the day, maybe it's my age, I'm starting to see more people around me that are not doing so well, and it's making me feel I need to really start living every day at a time, be as kind as I can, live as well as I can, and that also means taking time off.
100%. And whatever the catalyst is, the truth has been there all along. That the idea that you're ambitious and you're driven and that you're working hard, and aren't these great ethics and aren't these great attributes to strive for, yet sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on what's the counter of what do we do to refuel, to recharge. Otherwise we'll be depleted. So learning to embrace time off and frame it, as I said, frame it positively, no guilt, no drama. That isn't that exciting that I'm taking time off. You don't have to put your head down and go, I can't believe, I'm so embarrassed. I'm taking time off. But we do it sometimes. There's become this, I think this culture of busy is a sign of success. Frankly, I would rather work much smarter than longer and harder. And be able to take more time off. There have been times when I will dip in and I'm still writing my weekly column, and there are some things that I'm still contributing, but I will be out of my home for 3 weeks in the summertime because I don't see my family except for once a year. And that's unapologetic. It's with the ebb and flow of when busy times are for development for the organizations and the people that I support. But absolutely. And to your point about life is short, the whole adage, if you're on your deathbed, you're not thinking about, oh, I wish I had more time to go back into the office. You're thinking, I wish I had more time to hug my family or go for the walk in the woods or breathe the salty air from the sea. Whatever those things are what most people feel fueled by, and that they treasure as those memory moments. Sure, your successes in work, and we often have colleagues that we consider great friends and have great loyalty to as well. And so that balance, though, if you're spending all the time at work and no time that's just, frankly, not even focused on family or friends, or even you're just present. You're not thinking about, you can just not think. The value of just being,
Yeah.
just turning it all off for a little bit. Like you said, you went for a massage. You're like, yes.
But even something as simple as, like, when I have my grandson on a Friday, we always go to the memorial gardens and we potter around the gardens and we listen to the birds and just simple things like that. So whatever your idea of ideal time off is, whether it's windsurfing or what active holidays or whatever, it's still important that headspace.
It really is. And so so a couple of reminders then, as we're moving towards the last segment of this particular time, is remind yourself that you're worthy. You're not so irreplaceable that you can't step away for even a day. I mean, if you need to do baby steps to prove that to your team and to yourself, depending on where you are in seniority, then by all means, don't take 3 weeks off if you're going to be mentally distracted by what you think you should be spending time in. Take that extra day after a weekend. I mean, again, I like to be as realistic as I can. So incremental adjustments on this concept of vacation and holidays. Then make your plan so that you're not stuck in here, but you're actually getting out in some sort of a written checklist and organization here. And this is a piece of paper, or it's your electronic notepad or whatever, I don't care. But get it out of your head and get it into writing so you can be more systematic and less emotional about what it is you're asking for. And then what's the plan? What's the timing? What's the plan? And the plan doesn't just include who's covering for you or how are your projects or clients being managed, but it also is for what's your availability, if anything. And maybe shop that out before you make a big declaration of it and get some pushback. Maybe ask your supervisor, I'm looking towards taking 5 days off in June. I'm also working on a coverage plan. What availability or what check-ins would you expect from me, if any, during that time? Okay. So when you plant the if any, if you just say what check-ins are you expecting from me, or what check-ins would you like, you've already put the number starting at least one.
Yeah.
We got to take ownership for how we word these. And if we don't practice, or if we don't plan this stuff out and practice it, we might find, oh, I didn't like the way I said that, but I already did. And it's already out there. And now I'm responding to what that person is taking as the understanding of what I said, because I said it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working with a client this morning, Sam, and we were just going through how he would facilitate a town hall. He was talking about some AI tools are coming in, and his 50-member team, 50-member team, needs to do some things differently. And if they don't, they honestly might get replaced. And so he was going to just ask, are there any questions at the end? And I said, as soon as you ask a question that's like a yes or no, you are pretty much indicating to them that no is a possible response. So you're likely not to get anything. But if you say, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this piece, and then you ask a couple of people, now you're making them, or you're encouraging them to give input, but you're not putting them on the hot spot, and you're not making them feel stupid because they didn't ask the right kind of question. But this kind of thought through stuff, as it applies to even just something as seemingly basic as asking for time off, it might seem simple, but it's not easy.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Stuck in here and we don't put it together here. And even when I asked him about the concept of facilitating and asking those questions, he agreed with me conceptually that sounds better. And then I made him do the extra thing. I said, okay, imagine I'm your team and I want to hear you muscle memory it for a round. And so even as he asked it for the first time, of course, it didn't come naturally because he thought about it as a concept, but he hadn't felt his mouth make the words. The second time he asked the facilitating approach or put it out in that approach, then it was smoother. The third time, was there a third time? Yes, there was a third time. The third time, it sounded like him. So when you think about, oh, I've never talked to my supervisor about this. I've never felt myself say, oh, and here's my backup plan. And what are the days that, if any, that you'd like me to be available? Putting that into your own words and feeling yourself say it is the difference between landing it successfully or not landing at all, or stumbling and then feeling bad about yourself the way it came across. This out loud practice stuff, again, so obvious, but not so easy to apply and discipline yourself to do it.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, it's not easy, but it is learnable, isn't it? It's a learnable skill that you can learn.
It's a learnable skill, and you don't learn anything that takes physical effort, which this does. This is not a thinking thing. This is an action thing. Oh, Gina, you're such a natural when you're talking about, I am practicing this stuff all the time, which doesn't get me great in one. It gets me better incrementally over time. So it's nature's got next to nothing to do with it. It's the awareness that it's something that you can modify. It's the desire to make the change, and then it's the little discipline around it. And I, interestingly, a point that I had on my Instagram page, I was talking about developing your voice and learning how to land with fluidity. And someone snarky commented, meh, you're fine just the way you are. Yes. And you can also have that self-acceptance, live in harmony with your self-development. It doesn't mean that they're at odds of each other. You can be absolutely fine. And you can continue to start to fine-tune about your comfort or your confidence on different and positive approaches. Oh, I liked how you said frame things. Great. Have you practiced framing positively? No, I agree with it as a concept. Great. How does it feel for you to do it? I don't know. I've never tried. This is where you got to try it, because you're not going to think yourself into it.
Well, it was like a simple example, folks. I remember Gina had commented on something and she said, oh, that's lovely. You look lovely in your suit. And I was like, Asher, I just bought that, but I started practicing just saying, thank you. Because she told me.
It's a prime example.
Yeah.
Of something that seems so innocuous, or, oh, that's just how she is. She just likes to diminish or discount or self-deprecate around it. And yet, there might be times when she still wants to do that. But yet, if she has another tool in her toolkit and has heard herself and felt herself say, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you landed it like that first time?
Much better. I felt like Gina London. I know. I felt so. No, I actually felt. I felt classier or something. I don't know. I felt.
The word I would use is gracious.
Yes.
Gracious. And that's male, female, all our binary friends on the spectrum. As a human being, if one human being says, I like your shoes, I like your suit, and we go, that's our instinct, because we're not trying to puff ourselves up. And so I get where it's coming. And yet it kind of diminishes their observation, doesn't it? What if we said, oh, thank you, done. But that idea is different than actually physically doing it. That takes a bit of disruption, because we're patterned, are hardwired already in a particular habit. So disrupting that habit sounds like, oh, it's such a small thing, and yet it takes effort to disrupt that pattern.
But it is
the way we think about holidays or taking vacation time is one thing. The way we actually prepare and muscle memory out loud how to ask it is a whole nother world.
Well, if anyone wants to
That's
watch the
really
replay, you're welcome to watch the replay and just get those tips again. So what is you have, first of all, think about, I do deserve this holiday. I deserve a break. What is the workload, and do I have cover? Plan in advance, make sure you're covered. And, yeah, I'd like to make an appointment to talk about the holidays, but definitely watch this back. Great tips from Gina. So Gina, anything you want to add? GinaLondon.com. And if anyone is interested in that retreat as well, that Kella is doing, you can either message Gina or go to Kella. I'll put the link up here. Anything you want to add before we go? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well done. Folks, communications, conversations, it's the way we connect. It's the way we connect with ourselves. It's the way we connect with others. The applications are myriad because it is everything. Everything is a communication event. The more we can take responsibility and acknowledge that, but then get excited and enthusiastic that any of us can develop this.
Mhm.
It's a skill. It's not just, oh, we talk, therefore we're connecting. Communications might be easy. The connection part is harder. And there are best practices. There are techniques. There are outside yourself, out loud practice techniques that can help you then feel much more confident. Confidence is an outcome. It's not the starting point.
We leave it at that. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And anyone watching the replay, go to GinaLondon.com. And thanks, Gina. And we'll see you at our next one.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.